This month marks 60 years since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and a powerful new documentary coming tomorrow to Paramount Plus brings light to revelations from the doctors who were in the ER that day. JFK, What the Doctors Saw, reveals new information that raises the question, was there more than a single shooter?
The truth about JFK's assassination has been hidden for years, but now, after decades of waiting, the final secret files have been released. Many hoped for a shocking revelation, proof of a second shooter, a hidden mastermind, or a grand conspiracy. Instead, what the files contain is way worse than you thought. While they confirm that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, there's more to the story than meets the eye. What really happened, and why does it still haunt America? Join us as we reveal the actual truth behind the JFK assassination, the JFK files. For years, people have been waiting for the release of the final JFK assassination files. On March 18, 2025, those documents finally surfaced after Trump gave an order for its release. Mind you, this was part of his campaign promises, and while they didn't reveal shocking new details, they did provide more information on Lee Harvey Oswald's past. One of the biggest questions has always been whether Oswald had ties to the Soviet Union's KGB. Many believed he might have been working for them, but a newly released document puts that idea to rest. The document, dated November 20th, 1991, shows that a KGB agent named Slava Nikov went through 5 detailed files on Oswald. He wanted to see if Oswald had ever been part of the agency. Nikov later shared his findings with an American professor named E. Smith. His conclusion? Oswald was never a KGB agent. In fact, Soviet intelligence didn't even think he was useful. What else did the JFK files reveal? Keep watching to find out. It was also revealed that while the Soviet intelligence didn't think he was useful, they still watched him closely while he was in the USSR, but they decided he wasn't someone they could easily control. At one point, they even observed him practicing shooting. They thought he wasn't a great marksman. That's not all. According to the Warren Commission, Oswald acted alone when he assassinated President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963. But how did the assassination go down? At around 12:30 p.m. On that fateful day, Oswald took his position inside the Texas School Book Depository in Dallas. As Kennedy's motorcade passed below, Oswald fired 3 shots. The third shot was the one that struck Kennedy in the head, killing him. The second shot, though, did massive damage too. It went through Kennedy's back, exited through his neck, and continued traveling. It then hit Texas Governor John Connally, who was sitting in front of the president. Connally later described the moment, saying it felt like someone had punched him with a closed fist. The bullet tore through his armpit, moved through his chest, injured his wrist, and finally stopped in his thigh. One of the Secret Service agents present that day was Clint Hill. He had been assigned to First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy since 1960. When the first shot rang out, Hill immediately leaped into action. He ran toward the president's car, climbing onto the back of it in an attempt to protect the Kennedys, but he was just inches away when Oswald's final bullet struck the president in the head. Jackie Kennedy was in shock. She refused to let go of her husband, holding his head in her lap. Hill saw the extent of Kennedy's injuries and knew there was little hope. In his memoir, he recalled the First Lady's heartbreaking words. "Jack, Jack, what have they done to you?" For years after the assassination, Secret Service agent Clint Hill carried deep guilt. He felt responsible for not saving President Kennedy. The weight of that guilt was overwhelming. Hill began drinking heavily, pulled away from his family, and even thought about ending his own life. He once mentioned that tried to do the best job he could, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Apparently, President Kennedy had struggled with severe back pain for most of his life. He had multiple surgeries to try to relieve it. To manage the pain, he wore a special back brace. It was similar to a corset and wrapped tightly around his hips and back. Over that, he had a thick fabric bandage to hold everything in place. The brace gave him support, but also made it hard for him to move naturally. It kept his body upright, even when he might have instinctively slumped forward. This may have played a role in his death. When Oswald's first bullet struck him, Kennedy didn't collapse. Instead, the brace kept him sitting up. This left him fully exposed when the fatal shot hit him in the head. But moving on from the assassination, what other information did the JFK files reveal? Keep watching, because what comes next will shock you. More reveals from the JFK files. The newly released JFK files did not reveal any shocking new details about the assassination itself, but they did give more insight into the CIA's operations during the Cold War. One of the biggest revelations was about Operation Mongoose, a secret mission designed to weaken Cuba's communist government. The operation took place after Fidel Castro came to power in 1959. The U.S. government wanted to remove him, and the documents show how far they were willing to go. Another document revealed that the CIA had secretly placed 1,500 agents in different countries. These agents pretended to be working for the U.S. State Department. In the U.S. Embassy in Paris alone, there were 128 undercover CIA agents. A close advisor to Kennedy, Arthur Schlesinger Jr., warned that this could be dangerous. He believed it would hurt the State Department's ability to manage foreign relations. The files also expanded on what was already known about the U.S. intelligence agency's involvement in overthrowing foreign governments. One memo showed that in 1963, the CIA Director's Office was in direct contact with operatives in Cuba. These operatives were trying to remove Fidel Castro from power. The U.S. had been working on different ways to get rid of Castro since he took over the Cuban government in 1959. Another document talked about a CIA mission called E4DEED. This was a secret operation aimed at removing the Dominican Republic's president, Rafael Trujillo. One part of the mission was called Emsley W, which was specifically about getting rid of Trujillo through violent means. The document listed the names of CIA officers and other people involved in the plot. Trujillo was assassinated in May 1961. At the time, the U.S. had already cut diplomatic ties with the Dominican Republic. The assassination happened when Trujillo was driving on a highway with his chauffeur. He was on his way to meet his mistress. The CIA noted that Trujillo often left behind his security team when going on these secret trips. The details in the documents don't confirm whether the U.S. directly carried out the assassination, but they do show that the CIA was involved in efforts to remove him. As for the JFK files themselves, most of them had already been made public. According to the National Archives, before the latest release, 99% of the 320,000 documents reviewed under the 1992 JFK Records Act had already been published. During Donald Trump's first term, he promised to release all the remaining files. However, he only released about 2,800 documents. The CIA and FBI asked for thousands of other pages to be kept secret for more review. When Joe Biden became president, his administration released about 17,000 more documents. Even after that, there were still fewer than 4,700 files that had been held back, some in full, others only partially. Then, just last month, the FBI discovered 2,400 more documents that had been withheld. It must also be noted that the newly released JFK files do not support any of the conspiracy theories surrounding his assassination. Over the years, many people have suggested different ideas about what really happened. Some believe there was more than one shooter. Others think foreign enemies were involved. Some even claim that Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson had a role in it because he wanted to become president. Another theory says the mafia ordered the hit. The documents show that intelligence agencies looked into these theories, but in the end, none of them had any real evidence behind them. Given how brutal the assassination of John F. Kennedy was, how exactly was the aftermath, and how did it affect the U.S. as a country? Let's find out. Aftermath of the JFK assassination years later. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22, 1963, profoundly impacted the United States, leading to significant political, social, and cultural changes in the years that followed. In the immediate aftermath, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was swiftly sworn in as president aboard Air Force One, ensuring continuity of government during a period of national crisis. This tragic event highlighted uncertainties in presidential succession procedures, prompting Congress to propose the 25th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Ratified in 1967, this amendment clarified the process for filling a vice presidential vacancy and addressed presidential disability, ensuring a clear line of succession. Johnson leveraged the national grief and his political acumen to push forward a series of progressive reforms known as the Great Society. These initiatives aimed to eliminate poverty and racial injustice, leading to landmark legislation such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The momentum generated by the collective mourning and desire for change enabled Johnson to secure a landslide victory in the 1964 election, granting him the mandate to implement these transformative policies. Culturally, Kennedy's assassination marked the end of the perceived innocence of the 1950s, ushering in an era of skepticism and questioning of authority. The sudden and public nature of his death, coupled with the subsequent murder of the alleged assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, led to the rise of several conspiracy theories. Over the years, people have come up with all kinds of theories about what really happened to JFK. A lot of this comes from a deep mistrust of the official story. Some believe there was more to it than just Lee Harvey Oswald acting alone. Others think powerful groups or even foreign enemies were involved. No matter what, the assassination left a lasting mark on the country. One big change after JFK's death was how people consumed news. Television became the main way Americans experienced major events. The live coverage of Kennedy's shooting, Oswald's killing, and the funeral brought the whole nation together in shock and grief. It set the stage for real-time news reporting as we know it today. Kennedy's death also had a ripple effect on U.S. foreign policy. His assassination happened right in the middle of the Cold War, so the government had to rethink its approach to Vietnam and its fight against communism. Other countries also took note that both U.S. allies and enemies had to reassess their stance toward America after such a huge and unexpected shift in leadership. One of the most immediate changes came in presidential security. The Secret Service realized they had to do better. Kennedy's assassination exposed serious flaws in how presidents were protected. After that, security became much tighter, leading to the strict measures we see today. It's hard to imagine now, but before JFK's death, presidents could ride around in open cars with little protection. That all changed after Dallas. The assassination also became one of the most talked about events in history. It inspired books, movies, and documentaries, all trying to make sense of what happened. Even decades later, people are still fascinated by the story. It's one of those events that refuses to fade from memory because it changed so much about the country. Kennedy had been pushing for civil rights before he died, and his assassination helped speed up change. His successor, Lyndon B. Johnson, made sure major civil rights laws were passed, shaping the fight for equality in ways that still impact America today. Gun control also became a big discussion after the assassination. People questioned how Oswald got his rifle so easily, and that led to debates about firearm laws. Some new restrictions were put in place, but the gun control debate is still ongoing. In a way, the conversations that started after JFK's death are still happening today. What are your thoughts on the JFK files reveal? Do you think the reveal was necessary? An unexpected crime. On the 21st of February, 2001, a dark shadow fell over California as the news of young and beautiful Ashley Ellerin's murder spread across the media. Ashley, a 22-year-old fashion design student, had her bright future stolen in a brutal act of violence. The pain and heartbreak of her loss were unbearable, leaving friends and family devastated. Ashley had just stepped out of the shower when she was viciously attacked. She was stabbed 47 times in a merciless assault, a level of brutality that shocked even seasoned investigators. The sheer savagery of the crime left everyone wondering, what could have provoked such unimaginable rage? Amid the tears and unanswered questions, the most critical one remained. Who did this? Described by those who knew her as the life of the party, Ashley was a vibrant and outgoing young woman. Her warm personality earned her many friends, and her loved ones couldn't fathom why anyone would want to harm her. Adding to the mystery, there were no signs of forced entry into her apartment. Who could have committed such a horrifying act, and how had they managed to gain access? For years, the case remained a haunting mystery, but in 2008, a shocking development in an unrelated case would finally shed light on Ashley's murder. On July 6th of that year, a man named Michael Gargiulo was arrested for the attempted murder of his next-door neighbor. She had narrowly survived by fighting him off, and investigators soon uncovered a disturbing pattern. Gargiulo had previously lived near two other women who had been killed in similarly gruesome ways.
A notorious serial killer already convicted in California, appearing in a Cook County courtroom today.
Michael Gargiulo extradited to face charges for a brutal 1993 murder in Glenview.
As authorities delved deeper into his background, they discovered a chilling connection to Ashley. Witnesses revealed that Gargiulo had interacted with Ashley in the period leading up to her death. He had reportedly been trying to pursue her romantically, but Ashley wasn't interested. This revelation changed everything. With mounting evidence, Gargiulo was charged with Ashley's murder. In 2021, after years of legal battles, he was convicted and sentenced to death. Many believed that justice had finally been served, and Ashley's loved ones could begin to find some closure. But just when the case seemed settled, new evidence emerged that has raised more questions than answers. This time, attention has shifted to an unexpected person, Ashton Kutcher. Yes, the beloved Hollywood star and heartthrob is now at the center of speculation surrounding Ashley Ellerin's murder. But how does he fit into this tragic story? To understand his connection, we need to rewind the clock to the year 2000. Ashley and Ashton first met at a friend's birthday party in Los Angeles. At the time, Ashton was in a relationship, so he introduced Ashley to one of his friends instead. When those relationships ended, Ashley and Ashton decided to explore a connection themselves. Tragically, Ashley's life was cut short before their budding relationship could go anywhere. On the night of her murder, Ashton was supposed to pick her up for a date, but the events of the night following this plan is one that have been shrouded in great mystery. To make matters worse, new evidence has prompted investigators to revisit Ashton Kutcher's role in Ashley's life and her death. Fame and crime rarely mix well, but this could be Ashton Kutcher's reality as the shocking details of Ashley Ellerin's murder resurface. Was his involvement more significant than anyone initially thought? At this point, it's important to remember how complex high-profile cases like this can become. When someone as prominent as Ashton Kutcher is involved, it's easy for the lines between fact and speculation to blur. Yet the focus remains on finding out the full truth of what happened to Ashley Ellerin and whether there's more to Ashton's connection to her than previously believed. As investigators revisit old evidence and follow new leads, the case that once seemed resolved is now unraveling in ways no one could have anticipated. Could there be more players involved in Ashley's murder? Or is this a case of misplaced suspicion aimed at a public figure? You're about to be shocked to your bones by the details. An inquiry into the truth. On the night of her gruesome murder, Ashley Ellerin had been preparing for a date. Intriguingly, this wasn't something to ignore, as it points to none other than the award-winning actor Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher acquired legions of loyal fans with his portrayal of the dim-witted Calso in the popular television series.
It was an established fact that the time of Ashley's murder coincided with her involvement in a newly blossoming relationship with the famous actor, so it wasn't strange that the pair were communicating on the day of her murder. But the matter is far from being that simple. On the night of Ashley's murder, she and Ashton had agreed that Ashton would come to pick her up for their date. Even more intriguing, Ashton has been reported as the last person Ashley spoke to over the phone before her death. There was no denying that the pair were fated to meet and be together on the night of the murder. But instead of meeting for a lovely romantic night out, what lay ahead was a tragedy that no one could have predicted. Ashley was brutally murdered in her home that same night, with no one around to help her. This left her to be in a bad position within the mystery of her death. It became a clear fact that Ashton was entangled in the narrative of Ashley's murder. But the question of what went down on the night of their planned date remains a mystery. A lingering discomfort couldn't be denied. Ashton had been at the crime scene on that fateful night, and this left a mixed and unpleasant feeling in everyone who heard the story. Speaking to the press about the situation, Ashton himself admitted to his role in the whole scenario. According to him, he was freaking out because he knew his fingerprints would be found on the doorknob of Ashley's house from that night. What really happened between Ashton and Ashley on the night of the murder? Did Ashton's presence at the crime scene mean he had something to do with her death? These questions haunted those following the case, and the mystery only grew as details unfolded. Amid the rising tensions surrounding Ashley's murder, Ashton eventually broke his silence. He confirmed that he had called Ashley shortly before her murder at 8:24 p.m. That phone call was meant to inform her that he would be late for their date. According to him, Ashley had been completely fine with it, mentioning that she had just taken a shower and still needed to dry her hair. Ashton explained that he arrived in front of Ashley's home at 10:45 p.m. He found the lights on, but the door was locked. He knocked, but no one answered, which made him think that Ashley had left with her friends after getting tired of waiting. Before leaving, however, Ashton said he had taken a peek through the window. He claimed to have seen what looked like red wine spilled on the carpet, but didn't think too much of it. He left, assuming everything was fine. Ashley's body, however, was discovered by her roommate the next morning, hours after her gruesome murder. Ashton's account left many uneasy. While his willingness to cooperate with the police helped him avoid being labeled as a suspect, it didn't stop people from questioning the role he might have played. At the time, no evidence pointed to Ashton as the murderer, but the awkward circumstances surrounding his testimony couldn't be ignored. Naturally, doubts arose. One glaring issue was Ashton's claim that he mistook blood for red wine. For many, this detail felt off. How could someone with years of life experience confuse such a crucial detail? Was it simply a careless oversight? Or was there more to the story? Even if Ashton's account was genuine, his lack of attentiveness to the scene and his decision to leave without further inquiry left lingering questions. Could his actions have delayed the discovery of Ashley's murder? As this question lingers, more shocking recent revelations have arisen to make things worse. Ashton's murder accusations. In a shocking turn of events, Ashton Kutcher is now battling accusations of being involved in the murder of Ashley Ellerin. These claims have surfaced thanks to new evidence that has recently emerged, and the root of these allegations is nothing short of mind-boggling. The person spearheading these accusations is none other than Michael Gargiulo's attorney, Daniel Nardoni. Nardoni has brought attention to a detail that many believe was overlooked for years, and his case is backed by a testimony that has sent chills down everyone's spine. Ellerin's former apartment manager, an aspiring actor, has come forward with claims that have stunned the public. According to his testimony, he had been in an intimate relationship with Ellerin while she was alive. Even more shocking, he revealed that on the night of her murder, he was present in her apartment when she spoke to Ashton Kutcher over the phone. The apartment manager claims that the conversation between Ellerin and Kutcher was far from friendly. He suggested there was an argument between the two, one that hinted at serious tension. If this testimony holds any truth, it could completely contradict Ashton's account of that night. The implications are unsettling, as it raises questions about whether Ashton's version of events was a lie. But the apartment manager isn't the only one adding to the mounting suspicions. A neighbor also came forward with a chilling detail. The neighbor claims to have heard Ashley screaming not once but twice at around 8:30 p.m. on the night she was killed. This timeline is crucial, as it was just minutes after Ashton reportedly started his phone call with Ashley. If the screams were truly from her interaction with Ashton, it could suggest that their conversation wasn't as innocent as he had portrayed. Naturally, these new revelations have sparked countless questions. Could the screams have been a result of a heated argument between Ashley and Ashton? Was there more to their relationship than what the public knew? And if so, how does this fit into the larger narrative of the case? While these details are undeniably intriguing, they remain speculative. There is no concrete evidence linking Ashton to any wrongdoing, and his testimony remains consistent with the official timeline provided to investigators. Still, the significance of these claims cannot be ignored. They have reignited discussions about the case, forcing everyone to re-examine what they thought they knew about that fateful night. But you need to know that the testimony of the apartment manager and the neighbor, while unsettling, is not definitive proof of Ashton's involvement. The truth about what happened between Ashton and Ashley that night remains shrouded in mystery. It's a story filled with unanswered questions, and as much as these new revelations might seem compelling, they leave us with more speculation than clarity. For now, the resurfaced accusations and fresh testimonies have cast a new light on a case that has haunted many for years. But whether these details bring us closer to the truth or push it further away is something only time will tell. Until then, the mystery of Ashley Ellerin's tragic death continues to linger.
Instead of helping, we're taking photographs of her dying on the back seat, and then those photographs made their way back to news desks in this country.
Princess Diana, the people's princess, stepped into the royal spotlight with her marriage to Prince Charles.
Ostensibly no, but given the fact that the Princess of Wales believes that Prince Charles's friendship with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles, has cast a long shadow over that marriage, must be considered when you look at the failure of this 11-year union.
Despite her doubts about the hasty proposal, she saw it as a way to escape her troubled family. But the royal life was anything but a fairy tale. Her marriage to Charles brought to light many secrets, and she faced unkind treatment from the royal family. Distraught by infidelity and cruelty, Diana sought revenge, only to tragically die in a car crash in 1997. Now, decades later, her son is revealing secrets about Charles. Why is he breaking his silence? Princess Diana's marriage to the royal family and the controversies that trailed her life after brought her to the limelight. But she had quite an eventful life, even before then. Let's delve into when and how it all started. Diana was born on the 1st of July, 1961, to Edward John Spencer, the Viscount Althorp, and Frances Ruth Burke Roche, who later became known as the Honorable Frances Shand Kidd. She was born as Diana Frances Spencer, and later became Lady Diana Spencer in 1975.
Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister. The unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
After her father inherited the Earl Spencer title, her connection to the royal family is evident in her place of birth. Princess Diana was born at Park House, a home that her parents rented on Queen Elizabeth II's estate in Sandringham, England.
The former home of Elizabeth's head gardener on her Sandringham estate can be rented for about $400 a night next February for a minimum of 3 nights.
The royal family frequently holidayed at the neighboring Sandringham House.
London. Queen Mary left Marlborough House for Sandringham, where the royal Christmas was to be spent as a family party.
And Diana played with Princes Andrew and Edward. With such a noble background, how did Diana's early life lead to her eventual fate and controversial life? Get ready for the most epic moment of the video. Diana was the youngest daughter of her parents, and she had 2 older sisters, Jane Fellows and Sarah McCorquodale, and a younger brother, Charles Spencer, 9th Earl Spencer. She had another brother, John, but he died in infancy a year before Diana was born.
From her mother's devastating loss of a baby boy,
she was never allowed to hold her first son.
Both of her grandmothers, Cynthia Spencer and Ruth Roche, were ladies-in-waiting to Queen Mother Elizabeth. After losing John, her parents were hoping for another boy to carry on the family line, and so they didn't choose a name for a week after her birth until they settled on Diana Frances after her mother and Lady Diana Spencer, a great-aunt who was also a prospective Princess of Wales as a potential bride for Frederick, Prince of Wales. Diana was also nicknamed Dooch within the family because of her duchess-like attitude in childhood. On August 30th, 1961, Diana was baptized at St. Mary Magdalene Church, Sandringham. Despite her birth as the third child and fourth born of the family, her parents still wanted a male to be their heir, and this really put a strain on their marriage, especially after Lady Althorpe was sent to Harley Street clinics in London to determine the cause of her inability to produce a male heir. Her younger brother Charles would later describe this sole event as humiliating and a dreadful time for his parents. It was in fact probable that this was the root cause of their divorce.
Paul Workman now on the world's most famous couple, heading for the world's most famous divorce.
Diana was 7 years old when her parents divorced, and her mother went on to marry Peter Shand Kidd in 1969. Let us know your opinions in the comments section below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Click on the next video displayed on your screen. You will enjoy it.